Greetings, all you amazing people. Today we're going to take a little bit of a look into, well, AI. Because this is the new thing. Well, not new, but everyone is raving about it. I'm going to show you why you should not trust AI blindly. And then later on I will explain it a little bit in not super detail, but like so the common folk, so it's understandable for most people. So I logged into Gemini, Copilot, Cloud, and they're all the free version. This just as the setup, like by default, extended, smart. So you can also do this in real time, so you can see how long it takes. Not bad. Not bad at all. Let's just look at the methods to begin with. So this is the method. If you don't know what a method is, it's also call it a function, call it, like it's something, it's a container that stores some action. So imagine you were building a human that can go and fetch your milk in the refrigerator, and that's the only job this human can do. So you build this superhuman or stupid human, however you will put it in, and you say every time you need milk from the refrigerator, you say, Bob, milk. And then Bob goes over, fetch milk, give you the milk. So that's basically, this is like, it's taking a PowerShell command and it's returning the output. And you can already see here, they are different. And I will explain a little bit why this is dangerous. Because if you look here, so this is Gemini and this is Copilot. These are the ones that I will say is kind of close to be the same. But here, you look. This catches an error. This don't, this don't. So which one is the one you should use the most? Because we already some difference. Another thing that you see here, so Gemini wants you to make an async task. Basically mean you can thread it, roughly speaking. Not Gemini, Cloud wants you to make just a static, simple method. Oh, sorry, it does handle errors. It does handle errors here. So Gemini handle errors and Cloud handle errors in a really specific way. Another thing you may see here, Nugget package required. You don't need a Nugget package to run PowerShell command. You don't. You basically just do like what's, what they are doing here. Let's see where they're doing the PowerShell create. So here they are doing using. Oh, they're also doing using up here. These two are probably close to be the same, and I will say, like, I'm not going to go down into specific detail. I will say that if you don't know .NET, C#, you now have 3 different engines telling you to do it in somewhat 3 different ways. And here's the thing you have to remember, is that none of these are somewhat following any standards. Why this approach is strong for .NET, key points of executing policy, object output, performances, error handling. Gemini, in my opinion, is actually coming ahead strongest here, to be honest, and then Copilot and Cloud is actually the worst one. Because they're kind of doing 2 separate philosophies. Here they want us to do an async task, get it out of main thread, basically. Here they just want to run it in main thread, which if this is all it does and it's a terminal command, it's okay. If you're running a GUI, you don't want to run it in main thread because it freezes it up. But you can see how this can be confused. So let's say you vibe code here. You vibe code in Copilot, you vibe code in Gem or in Cloud. If you don't know C# really well, you can't fix it. There are some commonalities. So here we have PowerShell create, PowerShell create, PowerShell create. But you don't know what they are doing if you have never done it manually. And the problem, again, as you see here, they are error handling way differently. Which if statement is the best? Should you use this one that's more condensed, or should you use this one that's a little bit more easy readable? And another thing here, you see environment new line is actually, as far as I understand, the proper way of actually doing that. Yeah, you can also do, is it /n? So here they use string join. Here they use a string builder. So a string builder is faster. It's more verbose, but it's better for memory. It's faster to execute. It gives you more control. As far as I understand, this here is in the middle, and then you just have like a normal string where you do like console output of what it is and practices, and do we even have that somewhere here? So here, console write line, and you do quotation marks. So here it expects it to be in... They all expect it to be in a console app, which is fine. And here you run so the way that they're using it, funny enough, is almost identical. Besides, they want to run it as a task, and then they're doing async in these two over here. Which I would probably say, if you want to do it proper and all of that bullshit, and you want to satisfy your senior developers and your nerds, I will probably also do it in a async way. But how are they calling this? So it's PowerShell run.run async. What is this up here called? Oh, so it's not... Oh. So here they're just making the... Interesting. So here, this is just a method that you can plug into a namespace or into a class or whatever. Here they're actually making the class called PowerShell run and then making the method inside it. What are they doing up here? Again, here they're just making a method that you can plop into a class. You are asking as a newbie or someone that wants to learn, you are asking someone how to do a simple thing. What was the prompt? Make a .NET 10 method that returns the output of a PowerShell command. And you're getting basically three different ways of doing, or three different answers. Which one should you choose? They all works. I would say if it requires you to install a Nugget package, I would just say, Cloud, you fucked up massively here, my friend. You fucked up. You don't need to install a Nugget package. And also, you don't need to do it in here. You can basically just Nugget install or go up into the Nugget manager in Visual Studio and handle it that way. I hope I draw in the point here that AI is great, okay? If you can't remember... Oh, I haven't done .NET in 6 months. I can't remember how to do a method that returns a PowerShell command. Use it as a refresher point, because then now your knowledge will put in and you'll say, this looks weird. Like, they're kind of doing the same, they're functioning. This looks more condensed. These two here are more condensed than this one here. Why is it? This one don't do error handling at all. Which is a little bit like it depends on how you are. I do like a lot of error handling because it makes it easier to debug. So these two here I would prefer the most, but because it wants me to put in a Nugget package, and I know by experience I don't need to do that. Because I've made multiple programs, probably in the tens, like 50 programs the last year, running PowerShell commands, and I never had to install a Nugget package running it on Windows. Maybe it's for Linux, I don't know. It could be. Yeah, here, Mac OS Linux. That explains it, but most people are using Windows. I will be like, give me the Linux Mac OS if I put it in the prompt. Because a newbie or a vibecoder will then install this, or the vibecoding coder will prompt it, and the AI will install this for them, and they are only running it on Windows, and they now have bloat, junk in their code. They don't know they have it. It could potentially make it slower. It could give problems. Blah 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 blah. So it's a little bit like running an IDE versus running a text editor or code editor. A code editor don't hold your hand that much. An IDE, like this, it's like Visual Studio versus Visual Studio Code. If you really want to learn a programming language, do everything you can in Visual Studio Code, because it don't hold your hand so much. It also means it will be slower and you have to do more work. But it means you will learn it faster because you have to do more work. And then when you know and understanding on a basic to intermediate level, then you go over to Visual Studio. That will help you automate, that will help you debug a lot faster, help you autocomplete much faster, and blah, blah, blah. And that's, again, the problem with AI that we see in coding. Is that a lot of people, they get these confusion here. And if you're really, 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 really smart, let's say I open up, I log in with Bob's account, and I ask the same question in each of them here, there is a high chance that you'll get a different answer. So next time you ask this on another account, or if you ask this from like 6 months down the line or 2 months down the line, this may look different. This has happened to me in the same conversation. We could try and start a new conversation, and so you see here, this is a problem I had a lot with Copilot. Gemini seems to be the same. Yeah, this seems Gemini. And again, this is like really after each other, so they probably can remember the last one. Cloud, consistent. The same shit again. But the explanation is different. There's no Mac or Linux, so don't explain why you need this. Inconsistencies. This is way different. Now it's also having an error count and blah, blah, blah. So, imagine this. Imagine I was your boss, or I was your teacher, or something like that, and you come up to me and says, Kent, you fat fucker, I want to make a method in .NET 10 that returns the output of a PowerShell command. The first answer you get is this. And here, this is actually how you should do it, wanted via processes, by the way. Wanted via processes. I forgot to see this. This is actually how you should do it, to be honest. Or how I would do it. But I give you it this way. And then you go to lunch, like, oh, fuck, Kent, I forgot. Oh, I'm so fucking stupid. I was talking to the receptionist, and her fucking dress today, man. I can't even fucking remember my own name. She's so fucking beautiful. Can you explain to me again how to make a .NET 10 method that returns output of a PowerShell command? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And now I'm doing this. And I'm not telling you to do the processes part. You ask me the same day, within minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and I give you 2 different outcomes. So that also means if you're vibe coding, you can vibe code a program that has to do the same thing in the backend in multiple programs. It can be how to hook into your database, for example. And let's say you make 3 different programs that hooks into your database. You could potentially get 3 different ways that is hooking into the backend, your database, or hooking into your database. The same prompter, or let's do it really, really simple. Let's make a Windows app that hooks into the database, and then makes one for management, make one for the stock standard employee, and let's make one for customers that can hook into the database. So you will make like a handler class, call it what you will, that handle all the communication, that basically hook in your program to the database so they can communicate with each other. And of course there will be a little bit of restrictions, but the code is almost 99% the same. You just you can have like a user or validation handler in between that tells you how much of what that handler can do or return to you, if you get what I'm saying here. But because you're vibe coding, you can get 3 different ways that it's doing that database handler. This is why vibe coding is dangerous. This is why using AI to code is dangerous, because it's not the same answer you get every time. Some varies more than others. But you're not getting, I think the close to get the same is this one over here. It's Gemini. So out from this, I would say, use Gemini. From this little experience here that I've done right now with you guys, from consistency, that's what I'm looking for consistency, which is really fucking important, because that means you can read, consistency means that you can read the code. Because now, like, everyone that codes in a different way. But if they're consistent with the way they code, you can learn how they code. Or you can understand how they think. So it makes it easier to read. But if you're using AI to code for you and you get 3 different fucking answers for the same, basically the same 3 programs, one of them you can fix, the other one you can't, because now it's doing all kind of crazy fucking shit and adding a lot of fucking code in. And the third one, it's adding in the kitchen sink and your wife's boyfriend and your wife's boyfriend's boyfriend and dog. You don't know why the fuck they're there, but if you take them out, the whole program crashes. AI should not be used to code for you. It's a help. It's a reminder. It's like, oh my god, why I can't remember this. How do I do it? Or I'm a little bit stuck. Am I doing anything wrong? You know, it's like a tutor, like a teacher that's sitting in the back end that you can listen to, but you need your own experience. And I'll explain why this is happening. Okay, boys and girls, let me explain as fast as I can why this is happening. In the 10,000 foot view, there's a lot of things going into it and whatnot, but you kind of have to look at it in blocks with AI. So call this the brain. Can I make a brain? This is my attempt at making a brain. Or training data. You know, the data that is trained on. Then you have the AI itself, so the LLM, or what you would call it, which is like the interpreter. Like, it interprets what's going on up here. And then you have the output. The brain, you know, what's going on, where do AI get its data from? Like, we all heard about this train data, so that's the internet. Or internet, local data and stuff. It's basically known. So that means that if you ask it about a book, if you ask it about a saying, like, what does Bob's your uncle mean? It has to have been told, or someone has, in the training data, in the brain, it has to have access to exactly that. That someone have asked, what does Bob's your uncle mean? And then it takes all of those. This is a little bit like how we kind of function also. We don't know what we don't know. I've never built a nuclear reactor before. I can't build a nuclear reactor until someone tells me how to build a nuclear reactor. If people are telling me how to build a nuclear reactor is different all the time I ask how to build a nuclear reactor, I can't really reliably build a nuclear reactor if I don't think on my own, and AI don't think. So this is I hope this makes sense. But there's been probably millions of data where people have asked, what does Bob your uncle means? So when AI look at all of these data points, it don't know which one is the right. It just knows which one gets the best positive return, for example. Besides them, what does Bob your uncle mean? There could be a top 10 different meanings of it that gets the same, that gets like a massive positive return. So if you ask the AI, what does Bob's your uncle mean? Bob's your uncle mean, sorry. It looks at where did I get positive reinforcement that this is correct? Where did the training data and the humans accept it, and the weights and all of that shit say that, what happened in the black hole, where if I said it means this, they say, yes, this is correct, or I got like a positive feedback from, you know, the training. And it may have gotten that from 3 or 4 or 5 different outcomes. Like we saw in the coding example that there are 3, it already gave us 2 different ways of doing the same thing in Copilot. That means that someone on the internet have asked that question, how to make a method in .NET 10 that returns an output from a PowerShell, or even in .NET 8 or 7. With the weights and all of that shit, it can be, more than one can be right. And it is right that you can do it in multiple ways. You could probably do it in thousands of ways. But you're losing consistency. AI don't understand consistency. So every time you ask, what does Bob your uncle mean? You get answer 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 4, 5. That is what it could output to you. So here's like, let's say 5 different answers that has been weighted to be equally right. But they mean a little bit different. You ask it, what does Bob is your uncle mean? If it's giving you a selection, random selection between, or somewhat random selection between 3 different outcomes, you're not really learning anything, because it could also, it should be like what a human is, does, like in what, let's say you ask me, what does Bob is your uncle mean, or something like that. It's like, in what scenario are you using it in? AI don't understand that. It don't understand enough to ask you, but in what context are you using? Like, AI lacks context. A lot of context. So when you're asking to make a method in .NET 10, how many data points in my memory correlate to this question? And how many of it has been positively reinforced me to say that this is the right thing, and then it says that. Again, it's like saying to Bob, go over and take out the milk in from the refrigerator. Bob don't know if the human that we built, Bob don't know if it's spoiled or not. Bob don't know if there's a cup in it or not. Bob don't know what brand of milk it is, unless you then have to build Bob to understand that. Bob can't understand that on his own. He can get trained to understand it. Like I said, you build him to it, or you say, like, remember the outcome. So Bob take the milk and you say, this is not the right milk, it's expired. Bob goes and pick it again. There's only half a carton. I didn't ask for half a carton. And then that's how you kind of train Bob to understand those things. But Bob cannot think for himself. He's just, what is the most likely outcome that this person want when he asks me she asks me to pick up milk? And that's what Bob does. That's why you need to be really, really, really specific when you are coding with AI. Like, you have to treat it like the stupidest kid you have ever seen on Earth. You have to explain it to do everything, or else it will fuck it up. It won't do it right, because it don't understand context that well. It don't think. It don't really use past experience that well. And I will get a lot of people yelling and saying, oh, that's not, trust me. I've been dealing with this shit for like 3 years now. It's mind-boggling, even from year to year, how the outcome and how stupid AI actually is. And it is a trap that developers can get into really easily, is that they're like, okay, today I get 5. 5 must be the right one. We are building everything around 5. Then we're basically making the same kind of thing, just a little bit different. Maybe just the front end is different, but the back end is the same, so we vibe coding that. This time, the AI is plopping everything out in 3, so you just, 3 would be the right thing, and then something breaks. There's some credibility problems between program 1 and 2. And then you go into the code, and they are like massively, the plug behind them are like massively different. This is a square. Well, technically, there's a square in here. But there's all of this extra shit here that if you take it out, it will break. But you don't know why it's there. The program don't know why it's there. Because then you can feed it the code and say, what's going on here? Well, technically, it is right, because it got weighted as being a right answer, and it technically worked. So do this. This is why you need the human. You need the human to go in and say, what's going on here, my friend? That's why consistencies in answers are great. If your organization all agrees that answer 3 is the one we go with, or answer 1, then all of the program in that company is being done in that same way. For consistency, maintainability, problem shooting, scalability, and stuff like that. That's why we have coding standards, and companies use their own coding standards. You could even ask, the AI will uphold to this coding standards, and will still sometimes hallucinate and give you 3 or 4 different fucking answers every time you ask it. Because it knows what coding standards mean, but it don't know what coding standard. The overall coding standard, the business coding standard, do you have your own code? It may ask, do you have your own coding standard, and you feed it a document or something like that. It would be a little bit more accurate. But it still don't really know. It just knows that, okay, in my big, massive brain, this question has been asked, and there is data that tells me that this is the answer you're looking for. And it's just doing the training process. It's just feed out all the answers, and then human or other automating system tells it if it's right or wrong. And then, okay, in my experience, or doing my training, out of 1 million answers, only 100,000 of them was about 90% accurate. So there's a 90% chance you want one of these 100 answers. It's all guessing. And to a big part of the degree, it's good enough. And you're doing, can I go over here? MVP, testing. You're testing. Does this idea actually make sense? Let's make a minimum viable product so we can test it in production. And then, yes, this makes sense. Yes, this makes things faster. Then you can take some of the things from the AI and implement that and refine it, optimize it, put it into the proper formatting philosophies of the company. The problem that we see now is that what AI is putting out is test programs, MVP programs, and people putting them right into production. Because it works. Yeah, you can have a nuclear reactor that works until it gets stormy and it's 5 degrees outside and the janitor is pissing against the wind, and now you have a nuclear meltdown. But other than that, it works. Because you didn't tell the AI to build a nuclear reactor that could accommodate for that. of things is just built in a way that fucking janitors, the way that he pisses, just influence the nuclear reactor really fucking well. If you know how to code without AI, you are going to be massively valuable. Because you're going to be the janitor that's going in and fixing all of these mistakes here. You're going to be the one that are saving companies from AI slop. And then they're going into using AI as basically what it should be an auto-completion, a helper, assistant. In some areas it can be a replacement, but for development, software, engineering, it's a helper, not a replacer. It can't replace. It can help. It can do a lot of tedious jobs for the humans, but it can't replace them. It can cut down the manpower you need, of course, but it will never 100% replace them. It will never get that smart. It lacks creativity, consistency, context, and to get to the human level, where it's not imitating, but actually working on the human level, it has to work in a way that the human brain works. And it just can't. At least not until maybe quantum computing becomes a thing. I'm just a little bit scared and fed up with the whole AI world where everyone is just vibecoding fucking nuclear missile guidance systems nowadays and infrastructure, and they don't seem to understand, or I know they're getting pressed to do it by management, but it's super dangerous. And a lot of key infrastructure key programs can end up, and a lot of them will end up being unrepairable because of this. No matter how fast or how smarter the AI comes, which we are about to reach the limit of how smart AI can come by just scaling up the infrastructure, which is a fun thing also. Anyway, comment, like, subscribe. See you all later. I'm not an AI hater. I'm a practical person.